Oh, this is Pete Buttigieg. She said Pete Buttigieg is a homosexual, so I couldn't have him as my VP. Straight up. And then she's like, I didn't mean like he's gay and that's wrong. I just meant that like people are not ready for a gay man or something.
If you've had any reflection on that, or I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said. That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay.
Yeah. They came after my boy so hard, Bernard. They were like, oh, you said you can't run because you're a woman, over and over again. Over and over again. But when Kamala's like, yo, you're gay, sorry, not going to work for me. To a gay woman, by the way, is who she's saying this to, which is crazy.
Gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested.
It's just so funny because by no means am I defending Pete Buttigieg, okay? I am not. I'm not defending Pete Buttigieg as a decent VP pick or a presidential pick, okay? I do not like Pete Buttigieg. But his sexual identity has nothing to do with that. It's his worldview that I do not like. That is insane. I have time and time again responded to critics who have said Kamala lost because she's a black woman. And there are many black critics of mine who have said this as well, that like America was not ready for a black woman. America hates black people. This is true. America does hate black people 100%. And America hates women. Also 100% true. The problem is it doesn't matter. Those are hurdles. Those are setbacks that you can overcome. And the only way to overcome those setbacks is by being an earnest communicator and also having great policies. Kamala Harris did not have great policies. And that's the reason why she ultimately lost. That's it. I would never in a million years say that like a gay person doesn't have a harder time winning the presidency, or a woman has a harder time winning the presidency than a man, or a black person doesn't have a harder time winning the presidency than a white person. This is all true. But these hurdles are negligible if you have great policies that keep the voting population in mind. That's it. But if you don't have those things, then yes, you will not be able to eke out a marginal victory.
Elections for president of the United States against someone like Donald Trump who knows no floor.
Oh yeah, he would have just said Pete Buttigieg is gay, Lamau, and he would have won that way.
To be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk. No matter how, I've been an advocate and an ally of the
Look at Rachel Maddow's face.
the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about yeah, right. So it wasn't about any prejudice on my part, but
that
we had such a short period of time.
Yeah. Time was running out. That's why America was just not ready for a gay man in 107 days. 108 days? Maybe then. None of this matters. None of this matters. But the problem is Democrats only speak in one language, which is electability. And it's ironic because they're speaking in the language of electability as to why they make certain decisions after they've lost. It's like, maybe you don't know electability. Okay, let's try something different. This is what is so frustrating to me. It's like, well, you're lost. Why are we losing? Why are we listening to a loser? But I was homophobic for a really good reason. No, like the problem here is just say you don't agree with Pete Buttigieg's policies or something. But the reality of the matter is she unironically was afraid of Pete Buttigieg because he was gay and was afraid of Josh Shapiro because he was Jewish and also pro-Israel. That's clear from like the excerpts that I've seen. But what's so stupid about this is none of that matters, okay? This is all negligible. It's a hurdle, sure, just like Kamala Harris being a black woman in an objectively misogynistic and objectively white supremacist country is a hurdle. But you can clear that hurdle If you actually have good policies, if you go to people and you go, listen, I'm a black woman, you don't have to say that. People can see it, right? But like, I want you to have health care. Those motherfuckers want to take away your health care. People are going to go, I don't give a shit. I want health care. That's it. That's what democracy is. Example, Mamdani. Exactly. Zohran Kwame Mamdani is a 34-year-old brown Muslim socialist. What are we talking about? I'm so glad he won the primary so I could just point to him every single time to be like, really? Just like Barack Hussein Obama won by LeBron numbers. Of course, he convinced a lot of people about how progressive he actually was, but didn't follow through on that at all. But, you know, regardless, turns out presenting yourself as like a progressive that doesn't care about like, partisanship and things of that nature. We're not a blue America. We're not a red America. We are the United States of America. That kind of attitude. Yes, we can change. That type of shit works. Kamala won. Election was stolen. Let's go. Blue and on is in here.
And the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal.
The stakes are so high. I agree. Some people took it seriously. You guys didn't. That's the problem that I have with liberals. That's the problem I have with the Democratic Party. If you understood the stakes and you understood what it meant for Donald Trump to win the election, the things that I was complaining about over and over again, you never addressed. They did not address masked Gestapo ripping people's families apart. I did. I said the Democrats should address this. This is devastating. This is not going to be popular with people. Turns out I was right. They were wrong. They never addressed it and they lost. They actually took a right-wing position on immigration. They said, oh, we are the serious party. We are the party that's going to do real border control. Donald Trump is deeply unserious. Lol.
Public servant. And I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make that decision with 2 weeks.
Bro, I'm serious. He is such a bad speaker. Oh my Lord. I think people are faking it. Or she's just tuning into a frequency I cannot understand. When I hear Kamala Harris speak, it's like white noise. It is so unimaginably uncharismatic. She has such a hard time taking any issue seriously and directly answering questions.
To go. You know, and maybe I was being too cautious. You know, I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe I was. But that's the decision I made. And I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk.
Will you consider?
She got generational aura debt.
As a sort
Here's another line.
of talent spotter
This is on Mamdani.
in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
What do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this.
Why does she have this much smoke for the left flank? Like, dude, you're not even running for president anymore. When you did run for president last time, you presented yourself as like this leftist candidate. Remember when everyone would yell at me and say that I'm racist for undermining Kamala Harris's track record because she was for Medicare for all, a notion she quickly dropped? Maybe it was because just like these corporations that claim that they're pro-LGBT, to like farm the ugliest pride merch you've ever seen 1 month out of the year, they quickly drop that notion because they don't actually give a fuck about the LGBTQ population. Kamala Harris's leftism was purely aesthetic. She thought, as a bad room reader, I guess, that she could present herself as that. And then, of course, when she had any proximity to power, she quickly dropped all of that. And that made her look like a cynical pretender. And on top of that, as a cynical pretender, she also didn't have any motion or charisma to redirect the conversation back to her newfound policies.
He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, I mean, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama, Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor, too, and they are stars. So I hope that we don't so over-index on New York City that we lose sight of the stars throughout our country who are right now running for mayor and many other offices, governor, and so on. So that's where I am. We got a big tent, and we got a lot of stars.
She said all mayors matter. All lives matter, the Zoran question. Not Omar Fateh, though, because he's the bad kind running, in Minneapolis. Not him. Hey, enough about New York City. What about Mobile, Alabama? I don't know those other mayoral candidates, so I can't speak on them. But like I said, I have one, Omar Fateh. He's a rising star. Notice how she didn't bring him up. I wonder why. Perhaps the tent is too big in one direction for these guys' liking. I'm right by Mobile, and I ain't never heard of whoever she said. Wait, what did she say? The low-key funniest part is when she says, I love New York, as the saying goes, at 0:35, as though people wouldn't only utter that phrase because they saw it on a bumper sticker.
Talent
Wait,
scholar
I
in the
missed that?
Democratic Party.
Yeah.
What do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee, and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this. He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really
Concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do, as the saying goes further. Welcome to New York. Now you're in New York. New York, New York, as the saying goes. Generational aura debt. Anyway, she also had some statements for the private sector where she thought the corporate oligarchs would be the safeguards or the guardrails of democracy. Hilarious. Good attitude to have. Kamala Harris calls Donald Trump a tyrant and a communist dictator.
We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now in Donald Trump. And these titans of industry are not speaking up.